Dan Illman, Gino Buccola, race number 7 on opening day of the Del Mar 2024 Summer Meets, one of the traditional opening day features. We all look forward to the Oceanside because it's a great betting race, Gino. As we throw up the field, another full field. It's very competitive. We'll see how some of these horses class up as well as handle the distance.
When you think opening day of Del Mar, you think the ocean side. I've been down there probably 20 of my 37 years on opening day. And definitely I've been down to Del Mar at least once or twice every single year. I'll be down again, I think, coming up next week. So I'm excited and I'm ready to make some money, Dan.
And trainer Michael McCarthy, what an embarrassment of riches of 3-year-old turf horses. He's got 3 in here and he doesn't even have the best one in the barn. That's endlessly.
I know, and a couple of them that are very live. But what I'm really curious about this race is the pace, because we have a lot of horses that have just shown really good speed in the morning, really good speed in the afternoon, really good speed sprinting, going shorter, and now they're going to be stretching out. So they could be cooking in here, Dan.
Yeah, certainly there's a chance for a barbecue. We throw up the Timeform US pace projector. No surprise. There's that red bar indicating an expected fast pace. Scatify has shown speed on the dirt. We'll see if that transfers to the lawn. Island Cruiser, the number 5, stretching out in distance, has to show speed. All that glory, I think they tried something new last time out, sitting off of the pace. Maybe it didn't work out at a short price. I have a feeling they're going to break running with that horse and try to secure the lead in the rail.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, horses like Formidable Man and King of Gosford who have sat a little bit, but that's, going shorter for King of Gosford. And if you get caught up with a few other horses that are all battling, sometimes it's hard to get your horse to relax. So I'm handicapping this race and projecting it, looking for horses that are going to be coming from off the pace.
Let's start things off with All That Glory. I like the way the source won his maiden 3 starts back. Boy, I needed him in the Desert Code, and he almost made it to the wire for me. And then they stretched him out last time out, and he ran okay. I still have a few distance concerns, especially if the pace is hot.
Yeah, he'll make his second start going long in here. It's too early to say that they don't want to go long, but you were pointing out, I don't know if this is a horse that really wants to sit off. Or come from that far back, because they tried that last time out, kind of got caught in between horses and just didn't have that same late energy. So for me, down on the inside in a big field like this with a lot of other speed, if they win this race, I think they'll have very much earned it.
Formidable Man returns to Southern California where the turf is firmer, and that's maybe what he likes. He was a good-looking winner, 3 starts back at a mile and an eighth, ran just fine in the American turf at Churchill Downs. And then last time out in the Autobahn, I didn't see much of an excuse. He got wired there by Gino, but he was up close to the pace and just didn't finish. Maybe that field was just a little bit better than this one, though, with the 5th-place horse coming back to place in a graded stake on the synthetic at Woodbine with an 87 buyer.
Yeah, and I mean, he's been just facing tougher company than a lot of these, but I'm a little worried about the race shape. From a class standpoint, I think he fits very well, but if he's down on the inside, we haven't seen him come from 3 or 4 lengths off of it. And he may have to do that in here. There are going to be some horses who are getting trips that they're not used to. And in a race like this, I'd prefer playing horses that'll probably get trips that they're used to. So for Formidable Man, if he is a short price and he shuffled back a little bit down on the inside, I want to see if he can do that. And then I know, okay, this is a little more versatile of a horse and not as one dimensional or a horse who needs that soft front end trip. But class wise, he fits. Trip wise, I'm a little concerned.
I think you have to worry about the trip for the 3. King of Gosford, who's 5 for
Absolutely.
2. We know he can sprint. He's 3 for 3 in Southern California since being imported from Europe, including this race, the Desert Code last time out. And this race, I think, was run to suit King of Gosford, who was odds on. There just wasn't a lot of pace, and he was able to get off the rail and into the clear on the backstretch. And as you see, there's just no closing going on. All that glory's trying his best. King of Gosford's eventually going to get him. This pace has to be hotter in the Oceanside. Plus, this horse has to go a little longer. From a talent standpoint, it's there.
Absolutely. And he feels like he can sit off a little bit, but in watching that race, I wanted him to win that race by a little bit more. He really didn't put away all that glory, and I'm just concerned about the trip with him and the price he gets. There's a horse that we'll visit in just a moment that was actually in that very same race that I think could get a much better trip in here, going a little bit longer with a little more speed to run at. So sounds like you are a little bit too. I'm a little cold on King of Gosford just at the price and the trip he might get. I need to see it from some of these horses going a little bit longer before I'm willing to swallow too short of a price.
You made a good point about the race shape of the Desert Code as we discussed the number 4 guy named Joe. He's a one-run closer, basically. He was forced to stay a lot closer than usual last time out in the Desert Code, and we saw him sort of trudge on for third. He was trying his best. It's just tough to make up ground when they go so slow up front. This time, different story, and we see what he's done in the past. When you give him a little bit of pace, he can fire, especially going 2 turns.
Yeah, I think he's just one of the true closers in here. And I think he'll be able to sit back, make that one late run, and he will be passing a bunch of horses here late. It'll come down to traffic and trip, how far back he is. But I think if you're playing multi exotics, he's one of the horses that you want because there are definitely shapes of this race where they go really fast early on. And this horse is winding up late. I trust what we're going to get from him late in this race. I love the fact that Hernandez keeps the faith. He's been aboard previously a couple times and he's done a great job. So I think he knows what to do with guy named Joe. And I think Joe will come rolling in here.
Island Cruiser is up next. He's certainly going to add to the pace. Let's watch his most recent start going 3/4 of a mile. I at least like that he was able to sit off one other horse in here, and he does finish the race off nicely going 3/4. They did try the Pasadena 2 starts back. He went to the front. He tired. Guy named Joe was just better than he was that day. This is a nice effort for Island Cruiser. Not really love how he's drifting out a little bit in the stretch. It makes me worried that maybe the mile's a little far.
Yeah, I agree. Because as he stretched out to a mile, he was right on the lead. He didn't seem like they could get him to relax and sit off. And I'm concerned that that's going to be the case in here again. And this isn't the spot where you might be able to test that out. If he's got speed on both sides of him, he could be just in between a lot of other speeds. So for many of these horses that have only shown speed, I think a lot of talent, but we really have to wonder if they can sit off and get the trip in this race.
Like King of Gosford, the 6 We're in Trouble is unbeaten, but of course, both of We're in Trouble's races have come sprinting as well, including this start, first level allowance going down the hill at 6.5 furlongs. This was a very game effort from We're in Trouble, who went right to the front, took heat all the way around the track, just shrugged off a bump, and he's just going to keep on digging down and always found a little bit more to fend off the closers.
And I think of the horses in this race that have shown speed, he is one that I'm willing to say might be able to sit off a little bit more because both of his races, he was drawn down towards the inside. He's obviously a talented horse. He comes out of the gate quickly and they just are going to go on with it. You're not going to really grab a hold and try to take a horse back in that situation. But here in this bigger field, if he's just not as fast as a few others, I think he can sit fine. What I liked when I was looking at the pedigree on the DRF formulator past performances. So the Dam was a graded stakes winner going 1.125 miles on the grass. 4 siblings tried long on the turf. All 4 of them won going long on the turf. So it's certainly in the pedigree for this horse to get the distance.
Up next is the 7 Blue Eyed George. And he's sort of like guy named Joe in a way, because I think he's going to get a better race flow than last time out. The Cinema is the race we're going to show you. And the favorite Final Boss was just able to get to the lead, and Final Boss was able to drop down some mild fractions. Blue Eyed George, a little bit closer than usual. He gets a little bit tired at the end, but he never stops trying. Final Boss was just, I guess, as tough as a rock in here.
Oh, there you go. I smell what you're cooking over there, Dan. Blue Eyed George, I agree. He's a horse that my notes were he could really fall into a good trip in here because he's one of those horses, especially on the minor awards and the bottom of exotics. I think a lot of the speed horses I would just discount if you don't think they're going to be able to sit. This horse should be passing at least half the field late and probably even more than that. So I would definitely want to use him in the bottom of some of those exotics.
Scatify to me is a fascinating horse because he's only raced once on turf. It was a really good effort when he was second to Island Cruiser sprinting. He ran okay against a really promising 3-year-old on the dirt last time out in the Affirmed, but I have a feeling this might be his surface. It's been kind of amazing how well the Justifies have done on turf.
Um, I'm a little confused with him too, because I think the only time he sat off the pace, it was kind of by default. He had a slow start, he got bumped, and then he came from off the pace. So he's another one in here where I don't have any knocks on his overall talent, his ability. I actually really liked his debut win at Los Al. He was kind of wide, and I think is a little bit better race than just the running line might suggest. But I have a really tough time seeing him getting a trip where he's a couple lengths off the pace or seeing him clear this field in here. I just feel like he's one of a bunch of these horses that are going to be all pushing the pace early on.
Charge for Gold is up next, and he went gate to wire last time out at huge odds. He's 32 to 1, and he got a great ride here. There's just no pace on. And even though he was pressured down the backstretch, they weren't going very fast, and no one seems very interested in coming to get him. It was a nice ride. It was a nice win. I need to see it again against better horses in a faster pace scenario.
Completely agree. And what's funny is a lot of the horses that we mentioned as being fast, he's actually faster than them early. I just don't think he can get this distance. So they could really, really be flying, because Charge for Gold is another horse that should only add to that very, very fast pace.
The 10 Rothschild ran very well in his one and only start on turf. We're going to take a look at the Cecil B. DeMille. He's down towards the inside here, and he's going to squeeze on through. And for a brief second, it looks like Rothschild is getting set for his close-up, but he's going to get run down by Stay Hot, who at this point was in super form. Not only would Stay Hot win this race, he'd come back to win 2 more stakes in a row with buyers of 78 and 82. Nice performance from Rothschild. This layoff worries me.
Yeah. And if you are a little bit concerned about the layoff, you can dive into the formulator past performances and see that Timmy Actine off a plus 180 day layoff, they've actually been 10 for 53 over the last 5 years. Sometimes I like to expand it just to see the entire database that DRF has. That's a 19% winning percentage with a $2.96 flat bet ROI, just blindly betting horses coming off the long layoff. So maybe the post won't hurt him if he's just going to drop back. If they make that decision and say there's a lot of speed in here, we have to pick our poison, we're not going to want to go, let's just take back early, and maybe the wide draw won't hurt us as much, and maybe the layoff won't be as impactful if they're only planning on, pressing the button for that final quarter and asking the horse to really run there. I'm always a little more concerned with horses coming off of layoff who I think might have to carve it out all the way and maybe be involved in the early pace.
Simplexity is up next. He'll be making his first start in the United States after beginning his career racing on turf and on the all-weather over in Ireland. He did get a win last time out, racing first-time blinkers. Tough outside post position. Interesting that they gelded him over the winter. I'm curious to see where he classes up, because I went back and looked at the horses he was in against last time out, and I know one horse did come back to win, but it didn't seem like the strongest field in the world.
Yeah, he's a total wild card because pedigree-wise, he should be better on the turf. So I think it may be just a little too early to give up on him on the turf, especially going long on the turf. The Dam one on the turf, a couple winning turf sibs, but he has not raced since October. I really don't know what to get from this tough post. So to me, he's a wild card in here.
Let's take a look at who we like in the Oceanside Stakes. To me, this is a spread race.
Yep.
From an ability standpoint, I like King of Gosford. I'm just very concerned that if the morning line odds hold on, he'll be an underlay at something like 5 to 2. I kind of like where you're going. Guy named Joe is a horse I want to use. He's 5 to 1 on the morning line.
Yeah, the 4 and the 6 are horses that we both have in common, actually 3, 4, and 6. So we have a lot of similarities. Talent-wise, I think King of Gosford is one of the more talented horses in the field. So when that is the case, those horses can overcome and adapt to different circumstances, but I'm still going to use him more underneath. Guy named Joe, this should be a race that sets up really well for him, and some of his recent races just have not been the case. I actually think the 6, We're in Trouble, is another one of those really talented horses, and it looks like you do too. You've got that one in the mix as well.
Well, you made very good points about his pedigree. A lot of folks are just going to look at the face of it and say, well, he's by World of Trouble. It's all sprint. But you mentioned, check out the formulator PPs. Lots of stamina on the female side of this pedigree. Curious to see if Blue Eyed George at a big price can get a piece of this, if he could hang on back just a little bit more and make one run. He was on a hard chase against a favorite last time. 4-6-10-3 for Gino, 3-7-6-4 for me. It's the Oceanside on opening day at Del Mar. Best of luck.